You are not tired because you have too much to do. You are tired because too many people have learned they can spend you for free. Think about the end of your day. You didn't run a marathon. You didn't lift anything heavy. You sat mostly. And yet you're hollowed out. No energy left for the people you actually love. The work that actually matters. The life you're supposedly building. Where did it go? It didn't evaporate. It was withdrawn. Piece by piece all day by 100 small demands you never agreed to fund. The reply that couldn't wait. The meeting that could have been nothing. The person who needed to process their feelings at you. The argument that was never yours. You keep trying to fix this by managing your time. Better calendar, tighter schedule. It never works, and here's why. Time isn't your scarce resource. Everyone gets the same 24 hours, and plenty of people do far more with theirs than you do with yours. What separates them isn't hours, it's energy, and specifically, whether they let the world drain it or not. This isn't a wellness video. Nobody's going to tell you to drink more water and sleep 8 hours. This is about a harder truth, one a Chinese general understood 2,500 years ago. Your energy is a resource other people are actively trying to take, and if you don't defend it, they will spend it for you. On their priorities, not yours. His name was Sun Tzu, and the single most important thing he ever wrote is about exactly this. By the end of this, you'll stop seeing exhaustion as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something being done to you by design. Let's start with the reframe because it changes everything. Your energy is not a mood, it's capital. It is, in fact, the only capital you truly own. Money you can lose and rebuild. Time passes whether you use it or not. But energy is the thing that converts everything else into results. The raw fuel that turns hours into work, knowledge into action, intention into anything real. A brilliant person with no energy produces nothing. A modest talent with focused energy outproduces them every time. Energy is the currency underneath all the other currencies. And here's what nobody tells you. The world is structured to extract it, not through some conspiracy, through simple incentive. Your attention, your reaction, your effort, your care are valuable, and anything valuable that you give away for free will be taken until you stop giving it. Every notification is engineered to pull you. Every provocation is designed to move you. Every quick question and got a sec and manufactured emergency is a small withdrawal from an account you never check the balance of. You are being spent all day in tiny amounts by people and systems that have discovered you don't guard the account. Now here is Sun Tzu, and this is the core of the entire video. He wrote a line that the best strategists in history have treated as the whole game in 6 words. Bring the enemy to you. Do not let the enemy bring you to him. The skilled commander makes others move on his terms and refuses absolutely to move on theirs. Read that as a law of energy, and it becomes the most practical thing you'll hear this year. Every time something external moves you, every time you react, respond, drop what you're doing to handle what someone else just threw at you. They have brought you to them. They chose the moment. They chose the ground. You spent your energy on their schedule toward their goal. And a person who can be moved by anyone at any time is a person whose entire reserve belongs to whoever demands it most aggressively. The exhausted person is exhausted because they are, in Sun Tzu's terms, always being brought to the enemy, never once bringing the enemy to them. Every ping moves them. Every mood in the room moves them. Every request reorders their whole day. They are infinitely movable, and infinitely movable means infinitely drainable. Pause for a second and think about the last time you felt completely drained. Now ask, how much of what drained you did you initiate, and how much of it was you being moved by something someone else started? Be honest. One word, hold it. Because for most people, Almost the entire drain is reactive. Almost none of it was theirs to begin with. Now let's name the ways you're being moved, because you can't defend against a withdrawal you can't see. The first drain is reactivity. This is the big one. Every unplanned reaction is energy spent on someone else's terms. The message that yanks your focus, the comment that ruins your afternoon, the bait you take. Each one is you being brought to the enemy, moved off your ground onto theirs, spending your reserve on a fight or a task you didn't choose. And the cruelest part is how cheap it is for them. A 3-second provocation costs the sender nothing and costs you an hour of churn. That is the worst exchange rate in the world, and most people run it a dozen times a day. The second drain is other people's emotions. Some people don't manage their own inner state. They externalize it, and they use you as the regulator. They bring you their anxiety, their outrage, their drama, and they leave lighter while you leave heavier. You've had the conversation where someone just needed to vent and you were flattened for the rest of the day. That wasn't connection, that was a transfer. Their storm discharged into you. And if it's a pattern rather than a rare moment between equals, you're not a friend. You're infrastructure. The third drain is the open loop. Every unresolved thing you're carrying, the unanswered question, the unmade decision, the conflict you're avoiding, the task you keep half thinking about, runs quietly in the background and burns fuel even when you're not touching it. This is why you can do almost nothing all day and still feel wrecked. It's not the doing that drained you. It's the 20 open loops idling in the background, each one a small, continuous withdrawal you never see leave the account. The fourth drain is the most socially invisible. Obligation you never agreed to. The favors that became expectations. The role you fell into. The endless availability that started as kindness and calcified into a duty everyone now assumes. You're funding a dozen things out of guilt and habit, things you never consciously chose to pay for, and the payments come out automatically, forever until you cancel them. Now, how do you defend the account? Sun Tzu's answer turned into practice. The first move is to become hard to move, not cold, hard to move. The default state of most people is a door standing open. Anything can walk in and reorder their day. The strategic default is a wall with a few deliberate gates. Not every message gets an instant reply. Not every provocation gets a reaction. Not every request gets a yes. You decide when you're reachable, when you engage, when you spend. And the mere fact that you can't be moved on command means most attempts to move, you simply stop. People push on the movable. When you stop moving, they stop pushing. The reactive person trains the world to drain them. The immovable one trains it to leave them alone. The second move is to choose your ground before the day chooses it for you. This is bringing the enemy to you instead of being brought. The person who decides in advance what the day is for, this is the work that matters. This is where my energy goes first, has claimed the ground. Everything else must now come to that and fit around it. The person who opens the day reactively, who lets the inbox set the agenda, has surrendered the ground before waking up. They will spend the day being moved and call it being busy. Whoever chooses the ground has already won most of the battle for their own energy. The third move is to close the loops or release them. An open loop drains whether or not you act on it. So the fuel-saving move is decisive. Handle it, schedule it, or consciously drop it, but stop letting it idle. Half your exhaustion isn't from what you did. It's from the dozen unfinished things you refuse to either do or let go of. Decide, and the drain stops. Now, I have to be careful here because this idea has a poisonous version. Guarding your energy does not mean walling yourself off from everyone and calling it strategy. The person who gives nothing helps no one, treats every human interaction as a threat to their precious reserves. That person isn't protecting their energy. They're just alone and rationalizing it. The people you love, the work that matters, the moments that deserve your full self, those aren't drains. They're the entire point of having energy in the first place. You don't guard the account so you can hoard it. You guard it so you can spend it deliberately on what you actually chose, instead of watching it get withdrawn in 100 tiny unauthorized transactions by people and systems that were never going to thank you for it. The goal is not to feel nothing and give nothing. The goal is to be the one who decides. Fan Li, the merchant sage, didn't refuse to spend his fortune. He spent it with precision at the right moment on the right thing and gave enormous amounts away by choice. That's the model, not a miser, an owner. Someone whose resources move on their command, not on everyone else's demand. So let's go back to where we started. You hollowed out at the end of a day you barely chose. You were never lazy, and you were never weak. You were unguarded. You left the account open, and a world built to extract from it did exactly what it was built to do. That's not a character flaw. It's a failure to see energy for what it is. The only capital that matters, and the one you've been giving away for free to anyone who learned to ask. So don't think about how to manage your time better. Think about who you're becoming, not the infinitely movable one spent all day in tiny amounts on everyone else's priorities with nothing left for your own. The one who chose the ground, who couldn't be moved on command, who spent their energy like it was the only capital they had, because it is. And here's the thing, Sun Tzu was one of an entire generation of Chinese minds who mapped how power actually works. The philosopher who saw human nature without illusion. The merchants who built fortunes by moving before the crowd and never on its command. We're decoding every one of them, one mind at a time. If this made you see even one place where you've been brought to the enemy day after day and calling it exhaustion, then you already understand why most people will spend their entire lives being moved and drained and busy and empty. A few will choose the ground instead. Decide which one you are.